And Nyerere puts it so very well many years ago that you are not successful until your successor succeeds. Do we hear good rhetoric from Namibia? Yes. Are there attempts to do certain things? Yes. Do we hear good rhetoric from Botswana? Yes. Are there attempts to do good things? Yes. Do we hear good rhetoric from Mali? Yes. Are there attempts to do certain things to delink from the French? Yes. Do we hear good rhetoric from Burkina Faso? Yes. Attempts to delink from the parasitic French? Yes. But that is not enough to say this is good. That is enough to say the beginning is good.
Okay.
Our duty is to support them and to do what we humanly can.
Yes.
To help them move in the right direction.
Yes. Good. Peace and blessings, everybody. I am your brother, Orina, all the way from the motherland, all the way from Kenya, Nairobi, nation's capital. And today, special is an understatement. It's an understatement. This man, let me tell you something. The letter P in the word Pan-Africanism stands for PLO, okay? Yeah. The letter P in the word Pan-Africanism stands for PLO. This man is a Pan-African giant, not only a Kenyan statesman, but an African statesman. He has been teaching and spreading Pan-Africanism for so long. One of the most consistent, one of the most prolific voices of our time. And today I'm very, very honored. You guys don't even know how honored I am to have him on Sell Africa to Africans today. Please welcome the great, the awesome, the amazing Professor PLO Lumumba. Prof.
Thank you very much today for your rather generous introduction.
Prof, you are an icon.
Thank you.
You have been doing this for so long. And, it's good to give people flowers when they're still alive. And when you're still alive, Prof, I'll give you your flowers.
Thank you.
I'll give you your flowers. You have been doing a very, very, very vital work for so long. And I think where we can start, Prof, is how are you?
I'm very fine, by God's grace. I'm fine. I'm healthy.
You're healthy.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So, Prof, as I was coming here, when I was in the car, I was asking myself one thing. You've been doing this for so long. Consistency is key, but it's also hard sometimes. How have you been able to be consistent in your messaging for so long?
One of the most important things is when you have genuine conviction about things, the storms may come, the naysayers may come, the critics may come. But as the saying goes, the truth remains unchanged. Somebody famously said that lies take the elevator, the truth takes the stairs, but it remains alive and well. And I think that is what has kept us alive. First of all, to appreciate what you are talking about and to learn from those who came before you. And in this regard, we have made sure that we understand the history of Pan-Africanism.
Yes, yes.
When I listen to many people talk about Pan-Africanism, I get the feeling that they do not know what they are talking about. There is a lot of romanticization of Pan-Africanism. But when you go back to the early days of Pan-Africanism with people like Sylvester Williams of Trinidad and Tobago,
yes.
You go back to W.E.B. Du Bois, you go back to John Henry Clark, you go back to Marcus Garvey, you go back to Kwame Nkrumah, you go back to Amilcar Cabral, to Sekou Touré, to Nyerere. Then you begin to understand that Pan-Africanism was never meant to be fossilized and to be romanticized. It had its phases. In the days of slavery, you could understand what Sylvester Williams was saying in Trinidad and Tobago. What Garvey was saying in Jamaica and for the black people with the Lone Star. When the most iconic of the Pan-African conferences takes place in 1945 in Manchester, it is the period when African countries are under colonial yoke, except at that time, Liberia, Ethiopia, and Egypt. And all Africans are struggling to regain independence. So Pan-Africanism acquires a new enthusiasm, the desire to be free. When the leaders of Africa, the 32 of them, meet in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia in the month of May 1963, the calling is different. And the most passionate voice is, of course, Nkrumah. He can already foresee that if Africans don't unite, the Berlin spirit, which was still alive, and I dare say is alive today, which is divide and conquer and dominate, will prevail. Indeed, much later, not much later, but a few years later, when he talks about neocolonialism, the last stage of imperialism, you can already see him thinking like that in 1963 when he tells Africans, we must unite.
Yes.
We must have one army.
Yes.
We must have one currency. We must have one foreign policy. Of course, it doesn't work as well as they thought it would. The Africa is already divided at that time into the Casablanca group
The Monrovia.
and the Monrovia group. So that the OAU is a compromise, a hybrid. Let us have something. Let us not leave empty-handed. So today, when we continue to speak Pan-Africanism, we are talking about the need for total liberation. And that total liberation must be political, it must be economic, it must be spiritual, it must be linguistic, it must encompass the totality of the African being. And it is not going to be easy. It is not for the faint-hearted.
It's not.
It must not be lip deep.
Yeah.
It must not be mouth deep. It must be embedded in our hearts. And this message that we carry is not new. We are simply walking in the path that other greater men and women have walked.
Yes.
As early as 1906, if you remember, in the month of April at the University of Columbia, South Africa's Pixley Kaisa Kaseme, only age 27 at that time, delivers one of the most iconic speeches, the regeneration of Africa. People seldom refer to Pixley Kaisa Kaseme, one of the founders of the African National Congress. In 1996, Thabo Mbeki also delivers an iconic speech, I am an African.
Yeah.
So all these factors conjoined gives us the impetus and the spirit to never say die.
To never say die. Prof, that's a very, very good point. You know, if we could have listened to Osajo for Kwame Nkrumah at that time, when African countries were fresh off of colonization, I think we could have been in a better place right now. Had we listened to him, because as time has gone by, it's getting harder and harder for us to unite, don't you think?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, there's a Kiswahili saying, cha mfupi huliwa na mrefu.
Yeah.
That is, which is meant for the short person is eaten by the tall person. And it's not just talking about height. He's saying, if you are weak, you'll be dominated. The reality of international politics is still the law of the jungle, survival of the fittest and the dying of the least suitable. Africa is weak and divided. We are the only continent on earth, and I've said this times without number, that is still referred to in these derogatory terms, Anglophone, to mean that we speak English. Francophone,
French,
Lusophone, Portuguese, sometimes even Arabophone, and today Sinophone. And I hear, therefore, when people like Ngugi wa Thiong'o says decolonization of the mind and even the use of Kiswahili as the lingua franca of Africa, I can hear the frustration. Because history is also consistent. You can never realize real growth in other people's language. Look throughout the world. People develop and realize their potential in their language. The Chinese, the Arabs, the Indians, the Russians, little Norwegians, Swedes, Danes, Spanish. We are the only continent in the world where our so-called leaders go to a public rally, save for Tanzania, and the language that they use is another tongue. Even here we are using that tongue because we want to communicate to the bulk of them. Otherwise, you would be interviewing me in Kiswahili. So it is true that it's not going to be easy. But that which is not difficult is not worth doing. And that is why it is incumbent upon people to look at the Pan-African struggle as an intergenerational struggle, so that one generation carries the baton to the next. And in that way, I believe that ultimately we will realize what we ought to realize. Sometimes it feels like it is an exercise in futility. But I do not believe so. To the extent that you see young men and women across the continent of Africa and in the diaspora speaking this language, to the extent that you yourself has undertaken the task of giving the oxygen of publicity to voices of reason, that tells you that there is hope.
There is hope.
And that hope is what we must hang on without being prisoners of the hope. That is how we should look at it.
Prof, let me tell you that there is hope. I've been listening to you for, I'm 25 years old, I'm a Gen Z. And I've been listening to you for a very, very long time, even when I was a teenager. So, you know, it's people like you, people like Elder Maponga, who I've had on the show before, people like Dr. Kaba Kamene, who I've had on the show. So when I speak to people who have inspired me, and when I meet them face to face, I'm like, wow, like it's a pleasure. And one thing I've realized is the prof that I see on TV, the Maponga I see on TV, the Dr. Kaba who I see on TV, when I meet them in person or virtually, they are the same people. And it just shows you that this isn't theatrics. This is real. This is real. Prof, you know, one thing that I think maybe few people or probably no one has ever asked you is, what was the moment that you fell in love with Pan-Africanism? Because for me, it was, I told you the first time we met, it was my history teacher who was really, really passionate about Marcus Garvey, W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington. And he really went deep when he really didn't have to, because it wasn't an important topic in the Kenyan syllabus, but he took his time. That's when I fell in love, when I was 18 years old in Form 4. What was that time? Was it a book? Was it a teacher? Was it a lecturer? What was that time that you
1975. As a young Form 1 student, that is when I got to read the speeches that were delivered by the 32 leaders in Addis Ababa in 1963.
Wow.
That is many years ago. You are not born, of course, at that time.
I wasn't even...
And I was in Form 1 myself. Wow. And I started getting to know about these individuals and reading about them, reading the history of colonization. And I, of course, then interacted with the writings not only of Nkrumah, the writings of Nyerere, the writings of Marcus Garvey. And the journey has remained alive and well. throughout the ages, so that even when I'm studying history, one of the areas that I loved most was the history of African national movements. And of course, when I joined the university, I started getting in touch with some of these iconic individuals who were then alive, like Mwalimu Nyerere, Samora, John Garang Di Mabior. And that, of course, energized my activities in that regard, so that they were no longer just people I read in books. People I met. And that really has been the journey. So I had the advantage of serving as an intern at Mwalimu's Foundation in Dar es Salaam, working with John Garang Di Mabior. These are rare opportunities. So that is why it is incumbent upon us to also energize another generation. And consistency is very critical. One of the things that makes me very unhappy today in Africa is that we have a bunch of politicians, and I use the word bunch very deliberately, who say with their mouths what they do not believe in their hearts. You look at the way they conduct affairs. I listen to some of them when they are at international fora, whether it's at the AU, whether it's at the UN. They have these speeches which are written for them, where they quote all manner of things, but they don't believe it.
Yes.
When they come to their homes, then they become ethnic kingpins. They are appealing to ethnic sensibilities, primitive ethnic sensibilities. Some of them even appeal to very jaundiced, if you may, religious sensibilities. They divide Africa. They confuse the African audiences. And as Samora once said, for Africa to realize our potential, the tribe must die. And it did not mean that you eliminate languages, that you eliminate diversity. What he meant was that it cannot be the basis of decision making. Nyerere put it so very well. How can any sensible person be boarding the bus of ethnicity in the 21st century? And he said, ethnicity and ethnic identity only remains useful as a basis of cultural celebration and linguistic celebration, but for nothing else. But look at Africa today, the Africa that we are talking about. Look at it. Look at the conflicts. Look at Sudan.
It's crazy.
Look at Somalia.
Crazy.
Look at Democratic Republic of Congo. Look at Central Africa. Look at Southern Cameroon. Look at Northern Sahel. Look at South Sudan. Look at Ethiopia. Look at Kenya. When we found political parties, it is on the basis of ethnic identity. We may have manifestos which are well written by European experts, but we don't believe in them. And I give these examples in order to demonstrate that when we talk about Pan-Africanism, we must rethink it. You are interviewing me at a very opportune time, that on the 9th day of November 2025, we'll be celebrating the second anniversary of the Pan-African Institute at Lukenya University in Makueni in Kenya. President Ian Khama will be our guest of honor. The reason why we chose to create the Pan-African Institute, which now has a presence in Somaliland and will have a presence soon in Zambia at Eden University, is to institutionalize what we are saying, so that we just don't talk, but we are doing. Because some of our interlocutors, when they listen to some of us, they say they are just talking, they are doing nothing, but they never take time to ask what it is that is going on behind the scenes. Which young people are being energized, which young people are involved in very amazing activities across the continent of Africa. They are there. But your typical African mainstream media, if there exists any one of them today that is sensible, prefer to tell you which player in Arsenal scored which goal, rather than which great young African founded a serious thing in Senegal. That is the fate of Africa.
Yeah, but
as it is today. But we are changing it.
We are changing it, and thank God for independent platforms like us, like Alpha House, which are regular in, like so. Even Lingugi, that the good thing about us independent platforms is that we are not regulated.
Yes,
we can say anything we want, we can show anything we want, because well, number one, it depends with where your passion lies in. And if your passion lies in Pan-Africanism, and if you have a platform, you should use it very, 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 very wisely, because mainstream media rarely talks what we talk about. We heavily feature Sudan. We heavily feature activists from Sudan. I mean, I don't see these mainstream media featuring them the way we should. And Sudan is like the worst humanitarian crisis now.
You are so right.
It's crazy.
Social media is neutral.
Yeah.
Artificial media is neutral. And I'm using the word neutral to mean that it is open to be used positively or negatively.
Yeah.
Africa now has a great opportunity to use this medium that defies geography in a positive way for the benefit of our people, so that ignorance can no longer be the basis of our doing the wrong thing.
Yes.
Because you have people giving the oxygen of publicity to things. The question is, which things?
Yeah.
And if we have chosen Pan-Africanism and understood it to mean as the answer to our problems, then that is the message that must be broken down for consumption by all in African villages and African hamlets. And the message must be consistent. And the message must be converted into things that change people's lives. And if we do that, and do that consistently, and realize that the struggle is intergenerational, then we will know that it is not always that you eat the fruits of the seed that you planted, but your joy lay in either planting it or watering it or pruning it. But you played your part. It's like running a relay race. He or she who starts does not finish. But when it is finished, all are winners.
Yes. Prof, you spoke about planting the seed to the next generation. Our education system is not pushing Pan-Africanism the way it should. Probably even, it's not even teaching kids what Pan-Africanism is all about. It depends with the teacher or the lecturer. If that, like for example, my history teacher, and even you talked about how you took the initiative to read speeches of Pan-Africanists from the past. How can we change the curriculum, the African? Because if I was in charge, I would initiate the making of a Pan-African curriculum in our high schools, in our primary, and of course, even in our higher learning. What do you think about that?
I can't agree with you more. We inherited a system of education that was actually designed to produce an African who would work in neo-colonial institutions. And we have never changed it fundamentally, so that your typical African, whether that African was part of the former French colonies, Portuguese colonies, or Spanish colonies, or the Belgian colonies, or the Italian colonies, or the German colonies, or the apartheid South Africa, or the British colonies, we are in many ways imbibing and suckling from the breasts of the colonizer. That is why in a typical former British colony, their joy is to go and study in England. That is their desire. And to the extent that England is associated with the United States of America, you'll hear them saying, I'm a Harvard graduate, I'm a Yale graduate, I'm an Oxford graduate. That is their source of joy. But in my view, it is a mark of inferiority complex. The former French would say, I went to La Sorbonne. The former Portuguese will say, I went to Lisbon. The others will say, I went to Brussels. And you may have gone there. You are an engineer. But when you come back home, it is Chinese diploma holders who are building your roads. So what is the value of your education? So I must agree with you. And in 1933, an African American who was an educator looked at the type of education that was being offered to African Americans, then called Negroes, Carter G. Woodson, and he wrote a book called Miseducation of the Negro.
Yes.
We are thoroughly miseducated.
Wow.
And that miseducation is part of the problem that we have in most of Africa. If you look at many African middle class today, their struggle is to take their children to British schools, international schools, because they don't even have faith in the education system that were created by African governments. So if I'm to borrow this from Malcolm X,
yes,
we are still truly divided into the house Negro and to the field Negro.
Yes.
And because of the nature of our education, most of us are house Negroes. We want to do what the master says, what will please the master.
Yes.
We are laboring under inferiority complex.
Yeah.
And the time is for us, if you may, using the Malcolmian analogy, to be field Negroes, so that we are liberating our minds. And education is at the very heart of it. If you don't educate yourself well, because the mind is the standard of the man or the woman. If the mind has been coached in a particular way and has been prepared in a particular way, you can predict the results that will come out of it. And history is consistent. And nature is consistent. Garbage in,
garbage out.
Garbage out. But you look at some of the individuals who are running our education sectors in many African countries. When lecturers are on strike, nobody cares. When teachers are on strike, nobody cares. Because education is not given its pride of place. Curriculum change and what kind of curriculum is critical. Whether it is in the sciences or in the arts, and you asked a very specific question, should we make Pan-African studies mandatory? Yes, we must make it mandatory. You go to the Arab world. Why do they make Islamic studies mandatory? Because that is what defines Arabism. What defines an African scholar? His or her ability to speak French well. His or her ability to speak Portuguese well.
English.
His or her ability to speak English well. And today, his or her ability to speak Chinese well. So that if you speak Yoruba well, or Gikoyo, or Shona, or Zulu, people wonder, how did you go to school?
Yeah.
We must, in the nature of things, liberate ourselves from such thoughts. Look at the Afrikaners who dominated South Africans. At a critical time when they wanted to ensure total domination, they wanted to make every African speak Afrikaans.
Language.
Yes. Even after 1994, when the apartheid regime collapsed,
Yes.
there are still areas and schools which are dedicated Africans speaking and teaching. Why? Because they know that ultimately who you are and understanding who you are defines what you do. If you don't respect and know yourself, you will be dominated.
Mm-hmm.
And Africa, unfortunately, is still dominated because she is divided, and many of her sons and daughters do not know themselves and do not respect themselves and do not understand themselves. And the time is now for us to discover who we are.
Yeah.
To appreciate who we are. That is why, you see, they succeeded in persuading our women that our color is not right. That the skin lightening industry of young African women and sometimes men running away from our dark color through skin lightening. That is why they persuaded our women that our kinky hair is not good. We go and buy human hair made out of hair from ritually shaved women in India.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we call it human hair, as if our own hair was not human. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. We are always running away from ourselves. Why? Because we were created to hate ourselves. The time is now.
Yeah, the time is now.
To change and appreciate who we are.
Yeah.
And if we do so, even our Creator will begin to deal with us differently. And you'll begin to see things changing. I was telling somebody not so long ago, what is it that Qatar has that Nigeria does not have? In fact, Nigeria has more, Kenya has more, Ghana has more. But look at little Qatar. Look at their economy and the quality of life of their peoples compared to any African country, worlds apart. If you are to use the GDP per capita, the GDP per capita of Qatar is 115,000 United States dollars. That of the best African country is not more than 5,000, and it's so badly distributed anyway.
Yeah.
You go to Qatar, you find Africans. They are Kenyans, they are Nigerians, they are Ugandans, they are the same with Kuwait, the same with Bahrain, the same with Dubai. Young Africans are running away from the continent of Africa. Still the question of why is it that young Africans are running away from the mother continent while others are coming to the mother continent? What do they see that we don't see? It is because we lost faith in who we are. We lost faith in who we are. And the time is now to regain our identity. And when we regain our identity, the world will begin to respect us. I was telling somebody not so long ago, during the UN General Assembly in the year 2025, the President of the United States was insulting everybody and the hall was full. But when Africans are delivering their speeches, even fellow Africans are busy shopping in the streets of New York. Why? Because we are weak.
Lack of respect.
And we don't respect each other. That is the tragedy. But beyond lamentation, we must now roll up our sleeves and begin to do that which is good and right. And that which is good and right starts with self-identity, and then beginning to do things village by village, village by village. Mwalimu Nyerere put it so very well in 1967. I think that is after the Arusha Declaration. He said, let the Americans go to the moon. Let us supply water in the villages. That is our priority.
I like that.
Yes.
I like that.
And that is the way it is.
Prof, that's a very, very good segue to what's happening now in Tanzania. One of my heroes is Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere. What's happening now is, what do you think? What do you think?
I love Tanzania. And I love Mwalimu Nyerere. Worked under him. I had good relationship with John Joseph Pombe Magufuli.
Yes.
And it pains me to no end that that country, the only African country which, in my view, had succeeded fighting and almost killing ethnicity, where men and women were beginning to be judged on merit, that has found itself in this space. It is, in my view, as a result of what I call political paranoia. The current leadership simply got into the space which was dangerous. It became too hypersensitive to criticism. But once you are in a position of leadership, you must be criticized. No matter what you do, you'll be criticized. And I've said this rather hyperbolically. Even in heaven, God himself had to confront with the Lucifer who was criticizing him and even raising an army against him, if what is in the Bible is to be believed, and it is believed. If what is in the Torah is to be believed, and it is to be believed. So, detaining people, jailing opponents is the wrong way. Nyerere himself used to say that democracy, however understood, is a competition of ideas. You put your ideas into the market of political competition. It's a buffet of ideas. Then the people will choose. In any event, I still hold the view. Even if elections were held and all these opposition leaders were to be allowed to campaign, CCM would still beat them. Because CCM is rooted in the villages and hamlets of Tanzania. But because you stop them from participating in the electoral process, because their leaders were in jail, now they have the moral high ground. It is unfortunate. And my hope and prayer is that the administration of President Samia Suluhu Hassan will enter into a political rapprochement which will entail welcoming all political leaders to discuss Tanzania. Because Tanzania is no longer the same. After the events of 29th of October, when people spill blood for whatever reason, a country is never the same. And wisdom not only requires and demands that there is a meeting, that Tanzanian political parties and players come and reason together for the sake of Tanzania. It is necessary that it is done, and I hope that it will be done.
So, I mean, the reports are saying 700 dead. And, I mean, it's crazy.
Even one life is too many.
One life is too many.
Yeah. One life is too many because all these could have been prevented. Politics must be a competition of ideas. And sustainable power must spring from the ballot box, not from the barrel of the gun, unless it is absolutely necessary. So it is not easy, perhaps easier said than done, but I hope that reason will prevail. And I hope that people will look at the future of Tanzania, the United Republic of Tanzania, as being more paramount than their short-term political interests.
You know, Prof, I always say this, there's no reason whatsoever for a leader to kill people to remain in power. There's no reason.
There is no reason.
There's no reason, especially when you're using the power to not even do good for the people, to benefit yourself. There's no reason why. And I even last year when we were in the streets, I was like, why are you killing people to remain in power?
Let me tell you, protest is the language of the unheard. When you hear people through normal discourse, they'll never protest. When you see people go to the streets in any country, it means that they are unheard. Therefore, they are going the extra mile. Because the natural instinct of all human beings is self-preservation.
Yes.
When people lose fear and they are prepared to put their lives on the line, you who is in position of leadership must now ask, what am I doing wrong? Not what they are doing wrong. What am I doing wrong? That is the relevant question. And once you ask that question legitimately and you heard them, then it is your duty to engage them and find out what it is that you are doing wrong. But the politics of self-righteousness, the wise say that worse than ignorance is arrogance. And when you listen to many so-called African leaders, they are swimming in the sea of arrogance and drinking the waters of self-righteousness with which they are now drunk. And their desire is to seek power by any means necessary and to preserve it by any means necessary. When that is your mantra, you lead your country through a shortcut to chaos. And for what?
For what?
To what end?
Yeah. But what I see that is very promising is the rise of the youth, especially the Gen Zs. I mean, I'm very proud of my generation because one thing about Gen Z that I can say is that we are fearless. What do you think about the Gen Z uprisings in Morocco, in Madagascar, and now even Tanzanians? I see a lot of youth. What do you think? What do you think?
I'm a little bit more measured. I appreciate what is happening. But throughout the ages, every generation, the young of every generation have been the engines of change. Look at Africa. It is the young people in Africa who are in the forefront of the struggle for independence in all countries. Whether you are talking Kenya, they may not have been called Gen Zs. Yeah. They may have been, Gen Zs came only the other day when Jean-Marie Twang wrote her thesis in the United States of America. But there was always a young generation, whether it was in South Africa, Solomon Mahlangu, Bantu Stephen Biko, they were young. Whether it was in Mozambique, it was Samora and Eduardo Mandlane. Whether it was in Swapo, in Namibia, it was Andimba Toivo, Sam Luyoma, or in Angola with people like Agustino Neto, in Zambia, Kaunda, Kapwepwe, in Kenya, Mboya, and all these. So the young generation have always been present at all times. So this generation is playing its rightful role. The Gen Z, as they are called, they are just playing their rightful role, the role that they ought to play, because history has also demonstrated that many people in power, particularly in Africa, become victims of arrogance. And you can see it. In Kenya, for example, you've seen the emergence of what I call the politics of money and money bags. The politics of the mobilization and animation of ethnicity as the process of conducting political affairs. You saw it, the arrogance in Madagascar, the arrogance in Cameroon, the arrogance in Morocco, the arrogance in Tunisia that gave birth to the Arab Spring. So it is true that this generation is playing its part. This is not the first time that young people have risen in the continent of Africa or the world. Even if you go to the rest of the world, the young Turks in Turkey in 1908, If you go to the French Revolution and much more recently, the student riots in 1960 in France. So young people have always been the engine of change throughout the ages. And as somebody once said, I can't remember exactly who said, but if you are not a revolutionary in your youth, it's Ernesto Che Guevara, then you don't deserve living.
Okay.
So it is the duty of this generation to up the ante and make demands of the political class, particularly when the political class is arrogant, when the political class thinks that they can use material things to buy and retain their positions to the detriment of the people, and then they give people little pieces of things in order to confuse them without addressing the core issues. It is the duty of young people to call them out and to do what is done. And in that regard, I must say that the Kenyan young people did a very good thing. They removed the cataracts from the eyes of the politician. And of course, unfortunately, their activities and actions were torpedoed by the political class, who then entered into negotiations and postponed the changes that we truly desired. But of course, the baton has been picked.
Yes.
The baton was picked in Bangladesh to the end. The baton was picked in Nepal to the end. The baton was picked in Madagascar to the end. It means that it can be done, and it must be done. And the politicians must be reminded at all times that they do not have the monopoly of knowledge and wisdom, and that the positions they hold are positions of trust, and they ought to behave like trustees. Unfortunately, the memory of your typical African politician is not very different from the memory of a warthog and a mosquito. So I say that with all due respect.
Yeah. Prof, you know, when I was looking at what's happening in Tanzania, I thought to myself, wow, you know, we know Tanzanians for being calm, for being, for being just calm people. I never thought that Tanzanians could turn up like this. And it just goes to show you that if Tanzanians can do it, then I think they've reached the core, and I think they've reached the boiling point of their anger and of their jadedness and of their willingness to change the country. I mean, I'm surprised. Are you?
You know, beware the fury of a silent person. And there is a saying from Ghana in the Twi language that when you run after a coward for too long, you'll soon meet his or her courage. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
I am.
And that is what happens. When you think that a people cannot do certain things, people get to a stage where they are completely dissatisfied. And what happened in Tanzania, particularly in urban areas, this is what opposition in many countries always has greater appeal in urban Africa. And one can understand that is where unemployment is. That is where problems of food, housing are to be found. Rural Africa is in many ways detached from the economy. So they never bear the brunt of bad governance in a direct way. They still fetch water in the rivers, they can still till their land and not connected. But people in urban Africa are directly affected by bad governance because they see electricity in big buildings and they don't have electricity in their places of stay. They don't have water, they need money to survive. And therefore, many African governments must always remember that as people and as Africa gets a lot more urbanized, people are not asking for Ferraris. No, people are asking for water. People are asking for electricity. Young men and women who are leaving school are asking for opportunities either for employment or invention or innovation. That is what they are asking for. They are not asking for many things. And when they see the politicians increasing their salaries and stealing public funds, they get offended. They see their own age mates who are elected into office and without any effort are now the ones distributing money to them and having high quality beverages of an alcoholic nature, then they get annoyed. Then even if they was cool as cucumber, they lose their calmness. And when that happens, when fear is conquered, oh, there is no limit to what the human being is capable of. Wow. Beware the fury of silent people. And I'm sure that the Tanzanian politician will now think very differently. They used to think that this was only a Kenyan thing or a Ugandan thing. No, it is a human thing.
Wow, Prof. Now, as we look at what's happening in Africa, for me, the good examples of African leadership, of course, Captain Traore, the whole Sahel, Chiani and Goita, Boko from Botswana, Mama Nandi from Namibia. At least we can, at least there are some few people who we can say that, you know what, there's some hope in here. What do you think about
I'm
those
a little
names?
bit measured in when people say that this is the example. I'm a little bit more measured. I say certain good things are happening. It is our duty to make them better and to institutionalize them. I'm one who does not believe in these messianic leaders where you have a Moses with a rod and staff coming to part our Red Seas and to summon manna from heaven and bring forth pillars of fire and frogs to the Pharaoh. No, I believe in institutions. And Nyerere puts it so very well many years ago that you are not successful until your successor succeeds. Wow. The life of a nation must never be judged in small episodes. An episode of 5 years, an episode of 6 years. No, it must be judged in the continuum of history. Do we hear good rhetoric from Namibia? Yes. Are there attempts to do certain things? Yes. Do we hear good rhetoric from Botswana? Yes. Are there attempts to do good things? Yes. Do we hear good rhetoric from Mali? Yes. Are there attempts to do certain things to delink from the French? Yes. Do we hear good rhetoric from Burkina Faso? Yes. Attempts to delink from the parasitic French? Yes. But that is not enough to say this is good. That is enough to say the beginning is good. Now, how do we institutionalize and sustain that and ultimately ensure that power comes not and is not sustained by the barrel of the gun, but by the will of the people? So in my view, the jury is still out on whether those countries that I've mentioned are successful. And the jury will remain out for consideration on how their performance is until such a time as the thing that they are doing are successful. And remember that in the Sahel, in Niger, almost half of the country is under insurgency.
Yes.
In Mali, almost half of the country is under insurgency.
Yes.
In Burkina, almost half of the country is under insurgency. There is work to be done.
Yes, there's work.
So let us not, in my view, say that these are exemplary countries. No, our duty is to support them and to do what we humanly can to help them move in the right direction. Because I assure you, countries that appear to be doing well, today, many are writing the obituaries. Libya's Muammar al-Gaddafi, the Assads, Syria, Madagascar under Rajuel, when he himself was in the process, removed people through the streets Now even his citizenship of Madagascar has been revoked after 16 years. It's never easy. As once again, I say this ad nauseum. Always remember that it is intergenerational. Part of Africa's problem is to look for Messiah leaders.
Okay.
What I call the Jehovah complex. And once you treat people like God for too long, they begin to think that they are gods. People in position of leadership must always be reminded, you are not the best of us. We have merely entrusted you with a position of honor to serve us. But once you deify leaders, once you make them think that they are God, once you make them think that they know everything, that they have the monopoly of knowledge and wisdom, sooner rather than later, they become monsters. And history has no shortage of monsters who started well. If you look at Hitler in his early days, perhaps he was not the Hitler that we ended up with. If you look at Mussolini, perhaps it is not the Mussolini that we started with. If you look at Attila the Hun, perhaps it is not Attila the Hun that we started with. If you look at Idi Amin in Uganda, the Amin we started with is not the Amin we ended up with. If you look at Robert Gabriel Mugabe, the Mugabe that we started with is not the Mugabe that we ended up with.
Definitely.
So let us be slow to canonize people. Let us be quick to help them to realize you are only but human. Serving us will support you.
Yeah.
Yes.
When a person does his or her job, you're not supposed to clap for them.
To appreciate is good.
To appreciate.
When people do their job well, it's good to say, you've done well.
You've done well. But
don't say as if they are the ones who hold the yam and the knife, and therefore they do you a favor by giving you the yam. The yam was yours anyway.
Yeah, it's what you're supposed to do.
Yes.
Yeah. You don't clap. You don't throw a party for a janitor when he or she cleans the...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
At the end of the year, we can give you a bonus to appreciate you.
Yeah. Prof, wow. Really, really good insights from Prof. As we're inching closer to close, I just want to say that the problem with some of us Gen Zs is that I think the anger is so much to a point where we don't listen to wisdom from the from the elderly. I think that not all our elders should advise us, because I can't say a lot, but I can say a significant number of our elders have let us down. But people like you, people like Elder Maponga, people like Dr. Arikana, there are many examples that we can, the many examples of our elders who we can seek wisdom to. And I think the problem with us Gen Zs and what we're not talking about is who are the right elders we should seek wisdom. We are too agitated, which is understandably so, but we need to seek wisdom from the right elders. And I think that's what asking we should probably for me, if you ask me, I think you're the person in Kenya who we should seek wisdom from.
Humility is a very important thing. If you look at Greek mythology, allow me because it's documented.
Yes.
When the oracle of Delphi wanted to know who the wisest person was in Greece of old, he went out to many of the wise people at that time, Aristophanes, Sophocles. But when the oracle went to Socrates and asked Socrates, what do you know? Socrates said, the only thing that I know is that I know nothing. And the oracle came back to the gods and said, the wisest man in Greece is Socrates. Simplicity. Knowing that you do not have the monopoly of wisdom and knowledge is the first enlightenment. In 1982, I think, when I watched, or in the 80s, I may not be exact about the year, when I watched the film Gandhi to dramatize the life of Mohandas Gandhi for the first time.
Great movie.
Great movie, directed by Richard Attenborough.
Yes.
There is a time when the Mahatma is in a hall with young people, and the Mahatma is talking about non-violence. And one young person stands up and shouts at the Mahatma. And this is what he said: "We need your anger. Your anger is necessary. But that anger must be canalized." Because when water is canalized, these are now my words, it can generate electricity. It can move mountains. Anger which is directionless, which is not canalized, only leads to chaos. And when you therefore are canalizing anger, it is always important to go back to those who have lived before you, because they'll tell you, we walked this path, there were landmines. I remember when Kenya's Martin Shikuku was on his deathbed at Kenyatta Hospital, he called me.
Oh, wow.
And when I went to visit him, he asked me a question that was very interesting. He said, "Do they teach experience at the university?" I said, "No." He said, "I'm telling you that because experience is experienced. It is not taught. The reason why you consult people who are older than you is because they have experienced certain things. They can therefore make your journey shorter by telling you, I followed this path. It was longer and fraught with danger. Follow this path." And remember that youth is not a permanent stage. Those who are young now will be old tomorrow. Once you realize that, then you only know that yours is to play your part.
Yes, yes.
And once you play your part well, as to whether you succeeded, that is the verdict of history.
Yes. Wow, wow. As we inch closer, Prof, when the untimely demise of former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, when I saw that news, immediately what I said was, I pray that this will be the end of personality politics and the beginning of ideology in our political realm. Because for so long, and you can see the peril of looking to one person for so long, giving him that pressure of, hey, we need you. But in actuality, what we need is that we need to push ideology. We need to push, we need to push ideology to the forefront before these politicians.
Without doubt, I've always held the view that once again, history is consistent. You build institutions. Human beings are here today, they are gone tomorrow. So if you invest in human beings, then you'll be disappointed. You must, and it's the duty of those human beings when they are alive and well, to build institutions. And we have people who over the ages, even in Africa, who built institutions so that even when they departed, those institutions survived them. Nyerere built institutions. Machel built institutions and was part of institution building. Of course, you may say a few problems are here and there, but it is in the nature of human institution that they must have problems over there. But you can look at institution. The African National Congress may have its own problem, but it was institutionalized. SWAPO has its problem, but is institutionalized. So I pray and hope that not only in Kenya, but in Africa, we'll begin to invest more in institutions rather than individuals. And individuals also have a duty to ensure that they build others. You are not a leader unless you create leaders. He or she who claims to be a leader and has only created maniacal followers is not a leader.
True.
You've got to create leaders who are better than you and enable leaders who are better than you. Then you are a leader. But if you only have people who sing your praises and consider you to be some kind of God, then your leadership must be called into question. Yeah.
When we met for the first time, we were talking about how the Kenyan Pan-African level is very low, you know. And if you look at the platforms on YouTube, in Kenyan based that are speaking about Pan-Africanism is very few. It's very few, and we are one of them. Probably even less than 5, if I'm not wrong. And Alpha House being one of them, Lean being one of them, Sell Africa to Africans being one of them, but it's very few in Kenya. Prof, what do you think is the problem?
The problem is the leadership. When Kenya regained our independence, we quickly degenerated into ethnicity. It is true that Jomo Kenyatta attended the 1945 meeting of the Pan-African Congress.
Yes.
It is true that in the early days, there were Kenyans who were in the Pan-African movement, particularly in the labor movement, people like Thomas Joseph Mboya and Dennis Akumu, they were in the Pan-African movement.
Yes.
But as a nation, we very quickly degenerated into ethnicity. Because we regained independence in 1963 in the entity that is called Kenya. In 1964, we begin to fight from even the very formation of the Kenya African National Union is a Kikuyu-Luo alliance in many ways. KADU is an alliance of the smaller ethnicities. And when KADU dissolves herself and joins KANU, our politics is ethnically defined.
Yes.
And when Oginga or Odinga formed the Kenya People's Union, no sooner has the party settled that it becomes a Luo party.
Yeah.
So that we have always been consumed in politics of ethnic personalities. When the Luos are following their leader, he becomes their leader because he's the ethnic kingpin. The Kenyatta becomes a Kikuyu kingpin. Moi becomes a Kalenjin kingpin. Gideon Gala was also considered in that vein. So we are so consumed in ethnicity that we are incapable of seeing the larger picture. And you can see even during the struggle for the apartheid movement, the Kenyan foreign policy was ambivalent. You are seen at certain times to be sympathetic to apartheid. We are seen at certain times to be sympathetic to the oppressive forces even in Zimbabwe, then Rhodesia. So our politics has always been the politics of ethnicity and personality worship. And that is why our Pan-Africanism has never been manifest. When you travel out of the country, Kenyans are divided into ethnicities. Even in the United States of America, you find the Abagusi here, the Agikoyo here, the Luos here, the Kambas here. I was invited to the United States of America by Tanzanians. Not Wanyamwezi, not Wahaya, by Tanzanians. But Kenya, ethnicities. You go to Kenyan universities, students are divided into public university. Luo Students Association, Kamba Students Association. You go to the lawyers in Kenya, they are divided into ethnicities. Can you believe it? In the 21st century, professionals are identifying themselves as ethnicities. And then you say we are going to be Pan-Africanist. When do they begin to think about Africa? When enlightened professionals are divided along ethnic lines. They have the Engineering Students Association, they have the Law Society of Kenya, but they are not satisfied with that. They still want to be Abagusi. They still want to be Luo. They still want to be Luhia. They still want to be Kikuyus. They still want to be Kambas. When people reason like that, then they are not good for Africa. They are not good for the unity of Africa. Their village mentality, their education has not liberated them. And I'm therefore answering your direct question that Kenyans must exercise the ghost of negative ethnicity, as Koigi wa Amwere calls it. Exercise that ghost When the ghost is no longer resident in their minds and hearts, then the spirit of Pan-Africanism will have space. For the moment, that space is occupied by the ghost of ethnicity. So there is no room.
And you know what's funny, Prof, is that a lot of Gen Zs, if not most, don't even speak their mother tongue, but still the tribalism is still, even in our Gen Z generation, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't even speak my mother tongue, but you find that, you know, you still have Gen Zs who are still
congregating around.
Yes.
I call them the low voltage ethnic warlords. Low voltage because for the moment their followers don't bear arms.
Oh.
The day they bear arms. And we are in danger of that. When people talk about Haiti,
wow,
the gang started in this way. They first start by wielding stone, then they graduate to machetes, then they get into AK-47. And then you lose your country.
Wow. Prof, what are your last words, especially to, if you can look at this camera, what are your last words to, first of all, Tanzania? Because it's crazy what's happening there, and we wish them all the best. We wish that peace prevailed, and ultimately to the global African race.
You know, the United Republic of Tanzania must remain united. The work that was done by Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere and Sheikh Amri Abeid Karume and their colleagues must not be undone. Tanzania has remained the country that we give as an example where sobriety prevails. It has remained an example of a country which has defeated ethnicity and allowed national unity to occupy pride of place. Let what not happened on 29th of October remain what defines Tanzania. CCM, which is the mother party, has a duty to call all other parties to the table for purposes of discussing the future of Tanzania. It is the strong that accommodate. Let Tanzania be what it was imagined to be by its founders, led by Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere. Let us not write the obituary of a peaceful Tanzania. Let us make Tanzania the great country that is meant to be.
Prof, please come back again. Please come back again. We are really, really proud to have you here. There are many things that we can spend the whole day. The thing about Pan-Africans is that we can spend the whole day talking about this continent. That's how much the problems in this continent are so deep. You know, and you've been all over. You've been all over this country. You've been all over the world. And I pray that people take your words seriously. You know, all these politicians, even in this country, they should take you seriously because you hold such wisdom and such knowledge and such love for our people that they should just sit down and say, wait, why are we not listening to people like Professor PLO? Why are we not listening to people like Maponga? Why are we not listening to people like Arikana? Even abroad, why are we not listening to other Pan-Africans outside of Africa? Why are they saying the same thing over and over again? Because there is rightness, there is correctness, there is sense to what the message of Pan-Africanism is. So, Prof, you are an icon, you are a legend, you are somebody that deserves to be given all the respect. And I hope, you know, like I'm assuming that you've advised a lot of African leaders. Do they take you seriously?
You know, sometimes somebody once asked me, you write letters,
yes,
you say things, why do you do this? Do they ever respond? And this was my answer. This individual was a Christian. And I told the individual, when you read your Bible, there are letters written by Paul to the Corinthians, to the Galatians, to the Philippians, to the Ephesians. Did you ever see reply by Ephesians, response by Corinthians? Our duty is to keep on saying what we consider to be right without the arrogance of believing that we ourselves are always right. That is our duty, to point out that your white garment has a black spot on it, or that your black garment has a white spot on it. Some will dismiss you. Some will hate you for it. But as I said a little earlier, lies take the elevator. Truth walks the stairs, but ultimately it is the one that survives. So in Africa today, some of the things that some of us have been saying are now being proved right. We are being vindicated. I've been at forums before the war in Sudan. I was at a meeting in Bahir Dar in the presence of General Burhan. And I said during that meeting, Sudan is going to burn if you don't take action. Today, Sudan is the way it is.
Crazy.
And the world is silent about, the world talks about Gaza. African media don't even mention Sudan unless they are quoting European agencies, news agencies. There are no African anchors in El Fasher, in Darfur. It is Al Jazeera that is there. It is CNN that is there. So the time is now for African leaders. The other day, I wrote to the chair of African Union to stop issuing these quick congratulatory notes when elections are disputed, but instead to be present as a means of resolving the issue. I told them, you are quick to send congratulatory notes to Cameroon, and everybody knows that that president did not win the election. What are you doing? In Tanzania, they have already sent a congratulatory note. In my view, whenever there is a dispute, the first thing you do is to bring the parties together.
Yeah.
So this is the time also to re-examine the efficacy of African institutions. All the regional bodies, we must ask, how are they performing? East African Community, SADC, ECOWAS, Central Africa, Maghreb, IGAD, African Union, COMESA, all of them, we've got to ask, why are they underperforming? Why can't they be felt by Africans? If you talk to those who are refugees in Chad from Sudan, or the South Sudanese who are refugees in Kakuma, or the Burundians who are refugees in Kakuma, or the Congolese who are refugees in Rwanda and Uganda, and you tell them there is a body called East African Community or African Union, they'll say, what does that body do? We must, as Africans, go back to the basics. It's not going to be easy because we have individuals in position of power who want to retain it by any means necessary. But we have also seen that when the people have resolve, those fellows will run away with a suitcase, them and their families. Unfortunate, but sometimes it becomes necessary that they just run away so that they leave us with our countries to reorganize them whichever way we deem fit. Thank you.
Guys, you've had the man, you've had the legend, you've had the icon, you've had our elder, Professor PLO Lumumba. You've had him. You've had him. There's nothing else to say after this. You've had him. Let's just close it at that. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. We are an independent Pan-African media platform, and we are trying to grow Sell Africa to Africans. We are at last time we checked, 9.5K. We've been doing well this year, but we need to grow. We need to grow exponentially so that we can continue pushing the message, spreading the message of Pan-Africanism. Prof, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
God bless you.